Hello, good morning. I'm Leslie Prawley-Keene.
And I'm Erin Olson.
And we're back after a break for Connecting Creativity, part February. Does that make sense? It's going to today. We're actually going to integrate, a few changes this time around. We spent a lot of the fall focusing on different ways that we could show process different types of student learning products. And we really want to spend the spring digging into where our passions lie and in the content. So Erin and I both love lesson planning and design, and we really want to dig into our English and social studies backgrounds and share some different ways of thinking with you. So we're actually just going to make that little bit of a switch. If you are looking for the product type stuff, all our videos from the fall are available. And the resources using photography and video and coding and all these different things to represent learning. And now we want to dig into some of that actual learning. So in February, we're actually going to bring you a different type of quest where we're going to incorporate current events as the inspiration for starting another type of poetry quest. This one's new to me. It is called found poetry. So we're going to use that format and combine historical texts along with current events and then some fiction works to really show how we make sense of our world and help students make sense of our world in a way that will combine those and give students the opportunity to find a passion in them. So find something that they care about within the current events and then dig into creating something meaningful based on that work. So I'm going to let Erin tell you more about found poetry.
For those of you that aren't familiar with found poetry, it combines two or more texts together to make a new text. And you pull powerful phrases and word combinations from your chosen text and blend them together to make something new. I use this as a reading comprehension strategy. You can use this to compare and contrast text. So maybe they have a similar message or an opposite message. That's powerful. I also use this as a springboard into writing poetry because the focus becomes on the word combination and the message opposed to trying to think of an idea of what to write about and pulling from your own vocabulary. You can pull right from the reading itself. But again, two or more texts, any text, and you pull powerful phrases or word combinations to make something new and you mash it together. So in February, this is our focus. And in the start of this, we want students to enter the world and to understand the world, to care about the world, we really have to have students live in the world. And to have them live in the world, they have to know about the world, and we can enter with current event. So take your students to the news and have them scroll through headlines and read a paragraph or two into the news story and let them choose the story that speaks to them. When they have that story, this is where you can help them then think about other texts, maybe fiction texts or historical documents that can be blended with that chosen news story. For example, a few weeks ago, Leslie and I were discussing found poetry, and I went to the news and I found a news article about Auschwitz. Then I started to think about texts that I knew that I could relate to that, and I instantly thought of The Perils of Indifference, and a speech, powerful speech. And so I pulled text from that speech that was given in the 90s to President Bill Clinton and his wife. And I pulled text from that, pulled text from the news article, and then I thought about another historical document that I could add in, and I used articles from the Geneva Convention to mesh this all together to create my found poem. With this, encourage students to not pull sentences necessarily. You don't want to pull a whole entire sentence. You want to pull out the power word combinations and phrases. The ones that grab your attention, slap you in the face, catch your eye. That's what you want to pull. And in doing this, this is where reading comprehension is supported, because we're really having students focus on what is important out of that text, the message. The support that you can also offer is to find fiction that would attach to what's discussed. And like I said before, a found poem does not have to all have similar themes. It doesn't. Maybe you pull in something completely opposite to enhance the message that the students want to convey. Start with student choice, help support to find other texts, And there are resources on our website where you can find fiction and nonfiction text to incorporate with your found poem.
One of the things we really wanted to focus on this time around was that student choice in the product. So in students finding a current event, we really, and Erin said, wanted them to find something that spoke to them. So then their work would be created for a purpose that made sense to their writing. So if I found something that I wanted to celebrate, the product would maybe be transposed into a greeting card, or it could be made into a gift for someone. If I found something that I wanted to bring awareness to, maybe that would lend itself to some sort of PSA in some form or another. So finding a way to share that message with people in a way that made sense to their purpose and to their topic. So we're not going to go that route, as we sort of talked about at the beginning, of dictating or even really suggesting a final product. This one really is about the learning and the process and how the pieces fit together, and that product will be dictated by student passion and by the purpose. I just want to make sure to really give students that opportunity this time around. And if you are like me, social studies, right, and missing some of those poetry things, there are poetry resources on this one. But if you go back to Out My Window in September, there's a whole bunch of poetry resources there as well, which is something that I think I would need more support with. So you'll find all sorts of awesome resources available on our Connecting Creativity page. So with that being said, I think the only thing really left to do is to remind you that if you want to get in touch, whether you have questions or whether you are wanting to share a variation of this work that you've done with your students, or you want help publishing your students' work, because that's so important to us. We still want to maintain that act of publishing and giving and receiving feedback between student work. You can contact us at connecting@plaea.org.